From claiming to have stopped 8 conflicts, Donald Trump pat his own shoulder. Now US strikes Venezuela. Captures President Maduro. How is US justifying the strikes?
Hello and welcome. You're watching Explained by NewsX. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Today we're diving into one of the biggest developments. The United States military strikes on Venezuela under US President Donald Trump. We're exploring how the US justified these actions, Trump's bold claims for a Nobel Peace Prize, his self-praise for ending global conflicts and its parallel intervention in Nigeria. On January 3rd, 2026, explosions rocked Caracas, Venezuela's capital. Low-flying US aircraft swept through the city, targeting military facilities, ports and alleged drug trafficking sites. President Trump announced on Truth Social that US forces had conducted a large-scale strike and captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. They were flown out of the country to face US criminal charges. Maduro, indicted in 2020 for narco-terrorism, was accused of leading the cartel de los Soles, designated a foreign terrorist organization by the Trump administration. This wasn't a sudden move. We'll also be looking at several strikes that US has carried out in the past from September 2025 to show how this wasn't a sudden move at all. First, remember, US carried out its first strike in the Caribbean against a Venezuelan narcotics vessel. The vessel was operated by Tren de Aragua gang. All 11 people on the boat were killed. This happened on the 1st of September 2025. For months, the US escalated pressure over 20 airstrikes on boats in the Caribbean and Pacific since September 2025. A naval blockade on sanctioned oil tankers and a CIA drone strike on a Venezuelan port in December. The operation, reportedly involving Delta Force, lasted under 30 minutes. On 15 September 2025, US forces conducted a second strike against drug trafficking cartels. In this, 3 people on board were killed. The Venezuelan government, while condemning what it called extremely serious military aggression, said it had no confirmation of the president's whereabouts. Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez demanded proof of life for Maduro. This episode marks the most direct US military action against Venezuela in decades and raises fundamental questions about legality, regional stability, and America's evolving use of force in the Western Hemisphere. While US Attorney General Pamela Bondi said Nicolás Maduro and his wife Cilia Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York, Nicolás Maduro has been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine, importation conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices against the United States. Global reactions poured in. Cuba called it state terrorism. Iran condemned the sovereignty violation, and Russia backed an emergency UN Security Council meeting. The EU urged restraint and adherence to international law. So how did the US justify the strikes? The Trump administration framed the strikes as a lawful extension of its war on narco-terrorism. Maduro's regime was accused of flooding the US with drugs via cartels threatening national security. On 19 September 2025, the US Secretary of War ordered a lethal kinetic strike on a vessel affiliated with a designated terrorist organization conducting narco-trafficking in the United States, Southern Command Area of Responsibility. Trump posted on Truth Social, intelligence confirmed the vessel was trafficking illicit narcotics and was transiting along a known narco-trafficking passage en route to poison Americans. The strike killed 3 male narco-terrorists aboard the vessel, which was in international waters. At the heart of Washington's justification is Trump's long-standing portrayal of Maduro as a narcotic dictator. US authorities have accused senior Venezuelan officials of enabling cocaine trafficking networks, allegedly operating through the country, and of using state institutions to protect criminal flows. This visual on your screen is of the 4th strike from 3rd of October 2025. Donald Trump ordered Pete Hegseth to strike on a vessel. The strike was conducted in international waters just off the coast of Venezuela. Remember, Trump doubled the reward for Maduro's capture to $50 million last year, emphasizing regime change disguised as counter-narcotics. With Venezuela's vast oil reserves, some speculate resource control played a role, though the White House has denied it. In the 5th strike on 14 October 2025, a small boat was targeted in a strike. 6 people on board were killed in the strike. Trump has also linked Venezuela to US domestic concerns, claiming without publicly released evidence that Caracas deliberately pushed prisoners and psychiatric patients towards the United States as part of irregular migration flows. These assertions fit into a broader Trump narrative that frames migration and narcotics as intertwined threats to US national security. The visuals on your screen is from 16th October 2025. US conducted its sixth strike on semi-submersible craft. 2 out of 4 on board were killed in that strike. Now, although Venezuela is not a dominant source of drugs entering the US compared to other transit routes, the administration has argued that the issue is symbolic as well as strategic, demonstrating that alleged state-backed criminality will invite direct consequences. Another visual on your screen, US military attacks 7th vessel associated with National Liberation Army. 3 people were killed in this strike. Saturday's strikes did not come out of the blue. US-Venezuela relations have been adversarial for years, but tensions intensified sharply during Trump's second term. Sanctions, diplomatic isolation, and indictments against Maduro escalated into overt military signaling. Let's take a look at another visual. US conducted its 8th strike on drug-carrying vessel on 21st October 2025. In this, 2 people were killed in Eastern Pacific. Now, in recent months, the US expanded naval deployments in the Caribbean, including the redeployment of the USS Gerald R. Ford, bringing thousands of American personnel within striking distance of Venezuelan territory. Washington also designated Venezuela a foreign terrorist organization and imposed a de facto blockade on oil shipments tied to the Maduro government. The visual on your screens are of the 9th strike and the 10th strike. Death toll in strikes reached 37. In the 10th strike, US deployed USS Gerald R. Ford. While targeted strikes on suspected drug smuggling vessels and docking infrastructure preceded Trump's warnings that land strikes were imminent, language that in hindsight foreshadowed a shift from containment to direct intervention. The visual on your screen is of another strike. 3 strikes were conducted in the Eastern Pacific in which 14 people were killed. But why now? The US hasn't carried out a direct intervention in Latin America since the invasion of Panama in 1989 to depose military leader Manuel Noriega. Several strategic calculations appeared to converge. Another strike conducted on 29th October 2025. That was the 14th strike in Eastern Pacific. All 4 on board were killed in the attack. Venezuela, remember, sits atop the world's largest proven oil reserves, a factor that has long shaped US interests despite years of sanctions. With global energy markets volatile and geopolitical competition sharpening, Washington may see leverage in reshaping Caracas's political future. Now the visuals on your screen are of the 15th strike in the Caribbean on alleged drug smugglers. The vessel was operated by US-designated terror organizations. Domestically, Trump has consistently used tough foreign policy moves to reinforce his image as a leader willing to act decisively against perceived threats. Framing the operation as a law enforcement action rather than a conventional invasion allows the administration to argue it is enforcing US indictments rather than waging war. The strike raises immediate questions under international law. Capturing a sitting head of state through military force on foreign soil without UN authorization or host state consent challenges core principles of sovereignty and non-intervention. Amidst the bombs, Trump continues to tout himself as a peacemaker. He's repeatedly claimed to have ended 8 wars, including ceasefires in Israel-Hamas, India-Pakistan tensions, and African conflicts like Rwanda. I did 8 of them, he boasted during a meeting with Israeli PM Netanyahu. His peace through strength doctrine, he says, has made the world safer. Trump has openly demanded the Nobel Peace Prize, mocking Barack Obama's 2009 win and insisting his achievements, brokering Middle East deals, NATO spending hikes, and killing narco-terrorists merits a Nobel Peace Prize. Nominated by leaders like Netanyahu and Pakistani officials, he even received FIFA's inaugural Peace Prize in December 2025 as a consolation. Critics call his claims disputable, noting ongoing escalations contradict his peace president image. Now, Trump's interventionism extends to Africa. On November 1st, 2025, he redesignated Nigeria a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations, accusing the government of tolerating Christian persecution by Islamist groups like Boko Haram. He threatened to cut aid and go in guns a-blazing if attacks continued. On Christmas Day 2025, US strikes hit Islamic State targets in northwest Nigeria, coordinated with Abuja. Trump boasted of executing numerous perfect strikes against radical Islamic terrorism. Nigeria's foreign minister confirmed President Bola Tinubu approved the action, describing it as an ongoing process. US surveillance flights followed amidst threats of broader intervention. Now in Venezuela, Trump's policy builds on sanctions from his first term, expanded under Biden but revoked by Trump in 2025. He designated Maduro-linked groups as terrorists, enabling military options. The goal: remove Maduro, install opposition like Machado, and curb drug flows. Though Venezuela isn't a major fentanyl source, Trump's presidency is a presidency of contradictions. Trump's actions in Nigeria and Venezuela highlight a presidency of bold claims and bolder moves. He praises himself for peace while launching strikes, seeks Nobel glory amidst global backlash. As Trump holds a press conference today, the world is watching. Is this justice or is it overreach? The visuals on your screen speak for themselves. This is from the 10th of December 2025. US forces seized a Venezuelan oil tanker. This tanker carried about 2 million barrels of crude oil. This seizure was led by the US Coast Guard and Navy. Another visual is from 15 December 2025, the 20th strike. Under Operation Southern Spear, US struck 3 vessels in Eastern Pacific. 8 alleged drug smugglers were killed by US. Another visual is from 17 December 2025, when US struck a vessel in Eastern Pacific, a vessel transiting along allegedly a narco-trafficking route. 4 alleged drug smugglers were killed in this strike. This visual is of the 22nd strike by the US in international waters. Lethal kinetic strikes on 2 vessels in Eastern Pacific. 5 male alleged narco-terrorists were killed in this. US conducted its 23rd strike on a vessel on a low-profile vessel. This vessel was transiting in the Eastern Pacific. In this, 1 male narco-terrorist was confirmed killed. Meanwhile, the 24th strike also took place on a vessel by the US. The vessel was transiting in the Eastern Pacific. In this strike, 2 male narco-terrorists were killed. This visual was from the 29th of December 2025. In fact, in another visual that we're showing you now from the 30th of December 2025, US struck 3 more boats in international waters. 3 people aboard in the first boat were killed. People from other 2 boats jumped overboard. Lastly, another visual is from 31st December 2025, when US military attacked 2 more boats, vessels transiting along alleged narco-trafficking route. US strikes killed 5 alleged drug smugglers. These strikes show how US is trying to justify its actions in Venezuela. These developments also pose difficult questions. To what extent will the US escalate its operations, and to what lengths might Venezuela go in order to assert its sovereignty and its international reputation?
From claiming to have stopped 8 conflicts, Donald Trump pat his own shoulder. Now US strikes Venezuela. Captures President Maduro. How is US justifying the strikes?